The year is 2025. The scenario? Difficult. Inflation has risen more than many expected. The electricity bill, gas, and groceries have all become more expensive. The government has introduced measures to try and stabilize the economy, but the truth is, in the homes of those who work hard, the money still doesn't stretch far enough. Interest rates are high, credit is tight, and for many, the salary seems to evaporate into thin air. And here's the point where many people get lost. In the face of the crisis, the natural tendency is to think first about bills and consumption. After all, no one wants to fall behind on payments. But if you follow that path, paying everything, spending, and only then thinking about investing, the cycle never breaks. You remain a prisoner of the system, the crisis and price hikes. The smart strategy, even in tough times like 2025, is different. Before touching your salary, set aside 20% of it. This amount is your invisible part. You pretend it doesn't even exist. It doesn't matter if rent has gone up, if groceries are more expensive, if the news talks about uncertainty. Those 20% are what will get you out of the bind in the future. Yes, I know, now you're probably thinking, but how am I supposed to set aside money if there's nothing left for the basics? The answer is simple. Don't wait for leftovers. You need to set it aside first. Even if it's hard at the beginning, even if you can't manage the full 20%, start with 5%, 10%. The important thing is to create the habit of paying yourself before paying the world outside. Because if you don't do this, you'll keep depending on the government's goodwill, the economy's mood, and price hikes you can't control. The crisis isn't a reason to stop investing, it's the reason to start. When the tide gets even tighter, those who set aside the invisible part won't drown. Pay off small, expensive debts first. Now I need to tell you something important. While you carry debt with high interest rates, you're working for the bank, not for yourself. In 2025, interest rates in the US have risen a lot. The Federal Reserve raised rates to try to control inflation, but the result is that credit card debts and loans have become even heavier. Many credit cards are charging 20% to 30% annual interest. This means that if you owe $1,000 today, by the end of the year, you could owe more than $1,300 without spending anything more. A lot of people try to pay a little bit of each debt at the same time. This is a common mistake. When you do this, your money gets spread out and the debt keeps growing. The best strategy is to start with the smaller debts that have the highest interest rates. For example, imagine you have 3 debts. Credit card A with a balance of $600 and 29% annual interest. Credit card B with a balance of $2,000 and 18% annual interest. Personal loan of $5,000 with 12% annual interest. Even though the $600 debt is the smallest, it has the highest interest rate. You need to focus on it first. Pay it off as quickly as you can, even if it tightens your budget a little that month. Once you pay off that debt, you'll feel a relief. The money you were using to pay it can now be used for the next debt. This method works because you eliminate the debts that drain your money the most first, and each small victory gives you more breath to keep going. Build your emergency fund, minimum of 3 months' salary. Now that you've started getting rid of the most expensive debts, it's time to build something that many people have never had in their lives. I'm talking about your emergency fund. This is the money that will protect you when things go wrong. And the truth is, sooner or later, something happens. That's life. Think about it. In 2025, the economy is still unstable. Inflation hasn't fully been controlled yet. The job market has its ups and downs. A company can close, a contract can be cancelled, an unexpected expense can arise. A car breaks down, a health emergency happens, or even the government changes a rule that affects your income. All of this can happen suddenly, and if you don't have a financial cushion, guess what happens? You rush back to the credit card, the overdraft, or the bank to ask for a loan. And then the debt cycle starts over. That's why having an emergency fund isn't a luxury, it's a necessity. It gives you peace. It gives you the power to choose. With an emergency fund, you don't have to accept any bad job just because you're desperate. You don't have to panic when an unexpected event arises. But how much should you save? Ideally, you should have at least 3 months' worth of your living expenses. I'm not talking about your gross salary, but your essential monthly expenses. Rent or mortgage, food, transportation, health insurance, basic bills. For example, if you spend $3,500 per month to live, your emergency fund should be at least $10,500. This amount will give you the peace of mind to go through 3 months without income, if necessary. Now, I know that saving $10,000 seems like a lot, especially if you're starting now. Don't get scared. Start small. If you can save $500, it's already better than nothing. Then increase it to $1,000. And so on. This money should be in a safe place, easy to access. It's not for investing in stocks or risky funds. Keep it in a high-yield savings account, or in a daily liquidity CD, or in a money market account that pays interest. The important thing is that it's kept separate and available when you need it. Having an emergency fund changes the way you look at money. You sleep better. You make decisions more calmly. You don't panic with every bad economic news. The emergency fund is like a life jacket. You hope you never have to use it. But if the boat starts rocking, you'll be glad you prepared. Invest in income-generating assets, not just savings. Now that you've started building your emergency fund, it's time to take an even more important step. I'm talking about making your money work for you. This means investing in income-generating assets, not just leaving everything in savings. Let's be honest. If you leave your money just in a regular savings account, it hardly grows. In 2025, inflation continues to eat away at purchasing power. This means that if you leave $10,000 in savings for a year, the following year, you'll still have the same $10,000, but with less purchasing power. You won't be able to buy the same things you could before. This is where many people go wrong. Saving money is important, but investing intelligently is what really builds wealth. And it doesn't have to be complicated. I'll show you some simple and accessible options to get started. First, we have US Treasury bonds. They're safe and pay better interest than savings. You lend money to the US government and get interest in return. It's stable and reliable. Then we have CDs, certificates of deposit. They function like a loan to the bank, and the bank pays you higher interest than a regular account. The only difference is that you need to leave the money invested for a set period. Another interesting option is real estate investment trusts, REITs. With these, you invest in commercial properties, shopping malls, logistics warehouses, hospitals, and receive a portion of the rents in the form of dividends. No need to buy a building or manage tenants. Finally, we have dividend-paying stocks. These are solid companies that pass on part of their profits to shareholders. You buy a part of the company and periodically receive dividends. You don't have to invest thousands of dollars at once. Today, you can start with $50 or $100. The important thing here is to understand the following. When you invest in income-generating assets, you create new sources of income without having to work more hours. Your money starts to generate more. Money, now a warning. Only invest money you won't need in the short term. Remember your emergency fund? That's your protection. The money for investing is what's left over after that. And it doesn't have to be all at once. Start small. Contribute a little each month. Time and consistency work wonders. Investing in income-generating assets is what separates those who are always chasing money from those who make money come to them. Now let's talk about something many people only think about when they're already in trouble. But I'm inviting you to think about it before you need to. Creating an extra income stream is one of the most powerful steps to accelerate your financial growth and protect you and your family from economic uncertainty. In 2025, the cost of living has risen in almost every area: rent, health insurance, food, energy. With the dollar losing purchasing power, many people realize that just their salary isn't enough anymore. Even those who earn well are feeling that there's less left at the end of the month. The good news is that it's never been more possible to create a new source of income, and you don't have to quit your main job to do it. And that's exactly why understanding how money works is the first step to truly start getting rich. By the way, since you've made it this far, I've prepared a special gift for you, a book with practical tips to organize your finances and take the first steps toward financial freedom. It's in the description. Just remember, there are limited units. Now back to the topic. I'll show you some simple and realistic ideas. You can offer a service that you already know how to do. For example, if you're good at writing, proofreading texts, creating logos, or editing videos, platforms like Fiverr and Upwork connect you with people willing to pay for those services. With an extra 1 or 2 hours a day, you can start generating a new income. Another option is selling products. You can buy items wholesale and resell them on eBay, Etsy, or Amazon. Or you can create info products like an online course, an ebook, or a consultancy about something you master. This type of product can generate passive income, which keeps coming in even when you're not working at that moment. If you have an unused space at home, you can rent it on Airbnb. If you have a car sitting idle, you can rent it out through car sharing. The secret here is understanding that it doesn't have to be perfect at first. The most important thing is taking the first step, and what you earn extra, you don't spend. You direct this extra money to pay off debts faster, increase your safety net, or invest in income-generating assets, as we discussed in the previous section. And there's more. Creating an extra source of income isn't just about money. It's about freedom. When you rely on just one salary, you're vulnerable. If you lose your job, or if the company cuts your income, you have nothing to fall back on. With an extra income, you reduce this risk. You gain more control over your life. The U.S. economy is changing quickly. The government won't solve all the problems. It's up to you to build your own safety bridges. Remember, there's no crisis for those who have more than one income stream. In 2025, the U.S. economy is going through one of the most unstable periods in recent times. The tariffs imposed by Trump, known as the tariff hike, continue to pressure the cost of living, especially in trade with other countries. With the trade war in full swing, many imported products have seen price increases, which directly impacts our wallets. However, at the same time, investment options have become more accessible. But in times of uncertainty, the best thing you can do is automate your investments. Don't depend on your memory or moments of euphoria to invest. That could be an expensive mistake, especially when the scenario is volatile and prices are rising. Automating your investments is like creating a machine that works for you every month. It doesn't have to be complicated. There are investment platforms, like brokerage firms, that allow you to schedule automatic deposits of a fixed amount into your investments. Whether in a CDB, REITs, or Treasury Direct, you can set everything up to be done on the same day, every time you receive your paycheck. In 2025, inflation is high, and the trade crisis with tariff increases is making the situation even tougher. If you wait until the situation improves to start investing, you may end up wasting time and missing opportunities. Inflation, for example, can erode your money while you procrastinate. By automating your investments, you ensure you're always saving, regardless of what's happening in the economy. Even if tariffs continue raising the cost of basic products, your money, when invested wisely, will tend to grow faster than inflation's impact on your purchasing power. Furthermore, automation helps you maintain discipline, something that can be difficult during times of crisis. You won't worry about whether to invest that month or not, because the process will happen automatically without you needing to remember. It's as if your financial future is already being built automatically, month by month. Another benefit of automating is that as you pay off debts and create extra income streams, the amount you can invest will grow. And with market volatility, investing regularly, regardless of fluctuations, is one of the best ways to minimize risks. The idea is that even if your investment's value drops one month due to crises or tariff hikes, you'll be patient and won't need to tamper with your investments with every fluctuation. So while the government and the 2025 crisis impose challenges with tariffs and rising living costs, you take control of your financial life. By automating your investments, you make your money work for you and become less exposed to unpredictable economic changes. In times of uncertainty, control what you can control. Automate your future. In 2025, with an unstable economy and rising in tariffs, you'll notice that money is harder to earn and harder to keep. Rising prices, uncertainties in the job market, and new fiscal impositions are a constant challenge. But despite all of this, how you control your money can make all the difference. Now more than ever, every dollar counts. And for it to work in your favor, it's essential to know where it's going. This means controlling every penny. And I'm not talking about rigid and tight control, where you live under constant stress. I'm talking about smart control, where you know exactly where you're spending and what can be improved. The first step is to start tracking everything you spend. It seems simple, but many people overlook this. In times of crisis, every expense needs to be justified. When you start seeing everything leaving your wallet, you realize where you're spending more than you should. With high tariffs and the cost of living constantly rising, you'll need to identify expenses that can be cut or reduced. Today, there are many financial apps that make this process easier. Tools like Mint or WineAB, You Need a Budget, help you create a simple budget and show you where your money is going. And the best part is, these apps sync with your bank account and credit card, so you don't have to worry about manually tracking. Everything becomes transparent, and automatically they show you where you can save. Additionally, start creating a monthly budget. You don't need to be a finance expert for this. You just need to know how much you earn and how much you spend. Set aside a fixed amount for essential expenses like rent, food, and utility bills. Then decide how much you can allocate for investments and debt. The rest can be spent consciously on extra expenses. Now, here's an important tip. Avoid being swayed by emotions. In times of crisis, it's easy to feel pressured and make rushed financial decisions. It can be tempting to spend more on things that aren't essential, especially when prices go up and you feel anxious. But the key to financial success is resisting the temptation and staying focused on the long term. Remember that controlling your money isn't about living restrictively. It's about being smart and strategic. When you know where you're spending, you can make more conscious decisions. For example, if you notice you're spending too much on delivery services, you can start cooking at home more often, saving money, and also investing in your health. If transportation is consuming a large part of your budget, it might be worth considering alternatives like public transport or shared rides. When you control every penny, your money starts to obey. You'll see that even in a tough economy, you can do more with less. This control isn't about living privately or without pleasure, but about building a solid foundation for the future. And that will give you peace of mind to face any crisis. If you don't control your money, it will control you. And in times of high inflation and rising tariffs, you can't afford to be ruled by your finances. Control is the key to financial freedom. Oh, and just a quick pause here. I've prepared a book for those watching this video. It's a digital book with practical tips to organize your finances and take the first steps toward financial freedom. But hurry, there are limited copies available, so if you want to secure yours, the link is in the description. Go check it out before it runs out. Now back to the topic. Once you understand how to control your finances, pay off your debts, and start investing, the next step is crucial to ensure you're on the right path and that your finances will strengthen. Even with the 2025 crisis and the economic difficulties we face, every 30 days, it's essential to review your financial situation. The economy is constantly changing, with the dollar fluctuating and with tariffs imposed by the government. Many products and services are rising in price. You can't expect everything to stay the same. If you truly want to protect yourself from this financial instability, reviewing your situation monthly will keep you in control. This habit is fundamental. The first thing to do in your monthly review is to look at your investments. What do you have invested? How are these investments performing? In times of crisis, markets can be volatile. Some options may have decreased in value, while others may have appreciated. Don't panic with a short-term drop, but assess whether these investments are still the best for your profile and goals. Here, a good tip is always to seek diversification. Don't put all your money into one asset. Have a mix of investments that protect you against different types of risks. If you put 70% of your money in stocks, maybe it's time to reassess and balance with a portion in CDBs or real estate investment funds. This helps minimize the effects of volatility, especially when governments increase tariffs and change economic policies. After analyzing your investments, it's time to see how your debts are doing. If you have any high-interest debt, like credit card balances or overdrafts, it's time to accelerate the payments. With each month that passes, the impact of interest on those debts becomes heavier, especially in a crisis scenario. The faster you pay off those debts, the more money you free up to invest and protect yourself. Another important point is how much you can increase the value of your investments every month. If you started by investing 10% of your salary, try to increase it to 12%, 15%, or even 20%. Once you no longer have debts and your emergency fund is built, the next goal is to put as much as possible into income-generating assets. And this should be a monthly priority. Use what you learn along the way to increase the invested amount whenever possible. Remember that, while the government and the economy may control the scenario, you are the one who decides how to navigate through it. Reviewing and adjusting your investments every 30 days will keep you in control of your financial journey. And as your debts decrease and you create extra income streams, your potential to increase the invested amount grows. The key here is consistency and patience. What you do now in 2025 will directly reflect your financial situation in 2030. Every month counts, and every dollar invested is a seed for the future. And if by chance the economy worsens, you'll have the security of having resources to adapt. What you reap over the months and years is the result of the decisions you make now. It's not easy, but it's possible. The crisis may be here, but with these strategies, you'll get through it with much more security and peace of mind. Now that you have the tools to control your money and start investing wisely, think about this. The economic scenario in 2025 may seem challenging, but it's not the end. It's an opportunity to transform your finances in an intelligent and strategic way. With the dollar fluctuating and tariffs rising, it's no use waiting for things to improve overnight. What you do now will define how you live in the coming years. Every 30 days, review, adjust, and increase the amount invested. Every little effort will bring you closer to stability, even during an unstable economy. Are you ready to take control of your future? Did you like the content? What did you think of the tips to protect yourself during the crisis? Let me know in the comments. If you haven't subscribed to the channel yet, take this opportunity to do so now. And don't forget to like the video. That way, you help me bring more content like this to help you achieve your financial freedom. Share it with anyone who needs to watch this video. See you soon.